Textured vessel part 2. So I wrapped it up for the night, so I'm coming back to it and I'm carefully unwrapping it from the plastic and placing it onto my canvas. So I'm ready to texturize it using my found objects from around my house. I practiced with all these on a sample piece just to see what they looked like and decided on how I wanted to do my final piece. So if you haven't practiced with your textures that you have found from around your house, please make a smaller slab now and practice your textures until you're satisfied with what you're creating to then put onto your larger piece. At this point, I've realized my clay is still a little floppy and wet and tacky, so I wanted to dry out just a little bit. We are working with a soft slab construction, so we still need to be able to manipulate our slab into a three-dimensional form. So I'm going to sandwich it between two pieces of newspaper for about an hour. I would suggest setting a timer so you don't forget about it and let it get too hard. So while that sits off to the side, I'm going to create my base for my vessel. I'm going to use the clay that I cut off of the piece earlier that I smushed back together and stuck in my bag. It's nice and plastic and ready to be used to be rolled out into a slab base. Now this is a method of thinning out the clay that I think works really well depending upon the size of your clay. So for this piece, it's going to help me get it a little bit thinner and wider. And if you notice, you are kind of tossing the clay and creating this like ripple that pulls the clay towards you and thins it out. You don't want to slam it flat onto the table, that won't work. Using my stainless steel straws as guide sticks again and my dowel, I'll roll this piece, make it nice and flat, clean it up with a little bit of water and my spatula. For this project, I think it would be beneficial if you created a needle tool. You can do that simply and easily with a pencil, some tape, and a paper clip. At this point, you could cut out your base if you know what size you need. I use my water bottle as a measurer to measure the width of the piece I needed, so I'm able to cut mine out. Do not cut your base unless you are absolutely sure about your size. If you cut it too small, you'll have to roll a whole new slab. If it's too big, we can always cut it down. So bigger is better in this circumstance. Make sure any clay that you cut away gets put away into its bag so it doesn't dry out at all. As you may have noticed, every time I cut out a new piece, I clean it up. It's easier to clean up your work as you go than clean it all up at the very end. So keep that in mind as you're creating and keep cleaning that work as you go. At this point, my clay feels a little bit drier and not as tacky, but I can also still fold it to create its shape. So I'm ready to attach it together and finish my piece. But just so you know, at any point in time you can stop what you're doing, wrap everything completely in plastic and set it aside for however long you need. Remember to check your pieces every day and mist with a little bit of water if needed.